Hey friends, we're looking at the Pantasy stained glass table lamp. This is set number 85042, 1067 pieces, and it's part of their retro collection. In this video, we're going to look at the box. We'll look at what's included and see what we can see about the set. We'll look at the parts to see if they are Lego compatible. And we'll also look at this wiring kit and probably plug it in. We'll also look at the instructions to see what we can expect if you were to build it. And in a separate video, I will review the finished model after it's been built, and we'll discover and check it out together. Okay, so looking at this, if you've ever seen a Tiffany lamp in person, you know that it's usually stained glass for the shade, and they're usually like a floral design or something inspired by nature. And then the stand, the base, is usually a bronze, heavy bronze material. And it's typically ornate, and it either tapers in or tapers out, things like that. So what they've done here on the shade is it does have a lot of elements in here that are transparent. So there's a lot of transparent plastic parts used here, and they look like they're elements we're used to seeing from the Lego catalog, but we're not used to seeing them transparent. So I think these are botanical leaves. I don't know if they've ever been made transparent before, but essentially these are like dragonflies that they've created. So here's the body of the dragonfly, this is the tail, the body, and then these are the wings. And so they've got them kind of covered all the way around the shade. And so you get this very organic, very nature-inspired design that's happening along this. And they've done a lot of printing in order to make it look as though it's stained glass and kind of separate those colors out. So you can see, printed pieces here for this blue one, printed for these 2x2 circular tiles. And then it has that little kind of like a vent at the top. I've seen that before on some of these. And then the little thumb screw that you use to keep the shade on the rest of the lamp. This does have a lighting kit. We'll look at that too. And then they've used just a plain, is it a plain brown? Actually, it's more of a nougat color in order to create this base. So it's more brown in this photo, but it's actually more nougat when you look at the actual parts. And along the back, just a top-down view, it has a brick-built, looks like a bulb. The bulb itself is not a real bulb, that's a brick-built bulb. And here's a better view of what that dragonfly looks like. Here's a view looking from underside up into the shade. And then here is a look at how the USB connects to the base, which is kind of clever that they made it plug in like you would maybe a real lamp. But okay, cool. So that is the box, and these are the parts. By the way, this is my first Pantasy set. So I had heard good things about Pantasy. I've seen other reviews of Pantasy products, and so I was happy to get my hands on these famous pink Pepto-Bismol, is what my friend Curtis calls it, Pepto-Bismol colors. So anyway, bag 1, bag 2, bag 3, bag 4, bag 5, and bag 6. And yes, they're Lego compatible. They do look like familiar colors, except for the fact that many of these are transparent, and I've never seen these in transparent. So, for example, these are those, I think, leaf pieces that I mentioned, and they're printed. There are no stickers in the set that I could see. And I also saw more printed pieces here. So there's that curved piece there. So here are transparent surfboards. So this is like a trans black with printing. So it's got blue printing on it too. So that's pretty neat. And some gold pieces, of course. You're going to need that. Here's a big transparent yellow piece. These probably go at the very top of the shade. This bag had this really nice gold gear. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. That's going to probably look pretty nice in there. I didn't know that the Pantasy sets come with a pink brick separator. I think that's kind of funny. I think I've seen this style brick separator before elsewhere too. This little strange little spring piece in the middle. So more gold pieces there. And then this bag has more gold. Not bad. The gold looks pretty consistent, fairly shiny, pretty well done for the gold. So looking forward to that. And then of course, lots and lots of this nougat. I think this is called the medium nougat color. And you see these transparent pieces here. I think this is all for the light bulb, the brick built light bulb that you make. But yeah, this is probably going to pass for bronze. I'm glad they didn't use brown. I mean, brown might have been a little, they probably checked it and tried different variations. Here are those 2x2 tiles. And then lots of this kind of pale yellow. I'm not sure what the name of this is. It's almost like a butter color. Yeah, it's okay. And then the light kit. So the light kit came inside of this really big blue like mailer pouch. Here's the USB to USB-C cable. And then it has this little pouch inside also. And this is where the actual light kit is. So what you're seeing here is a USB-C female adapter, and then it connects to a, it has this little coupler or coupler at the end, and then the light string is on its own string, and then you connect them together. So let's connect them together. I believe these only go one direction. Unlike Lumibricks, Lumibricks is omnidirectional, so you can plug it in either way, which I appreciate about that. Makes things a little bit easier. Okay, there we go. Okay, so each of these is a 1x1 stud, so you get 4 of these 1x1 studs, and that's where the LEDs are. And I'm gonna get my power bank here, turn it on, and we'll plug it in. So plugging it in, now you see the lights. So that's the 4 lights. They're on the more yellowish side, which I think is good. That's what you want. And, you know, they're fairly bright. I don't know where they're going to have you put them. Probably all in the bulb, I would guess, facing outwards. And if that was in there, I think you'd actually get ambient light out of this shade and out of the lamp, and it would probably come through as well. But you'd probably want to turn off all the lights in the room in order to really appreciate it. It's not super duper bright, but they're no slouches either. So we'll see how it looks in the finished build. I'm excited to find out. Okay, so let us take a look at the instructions too. Okay, so here is the manual. It is a matte finish. It's perfect bound, and starts off with Pantasy with their logo. A little bit of information here, like, you know, open it up by bag number, and then information on how to use the brick separator. Some other things that are exclusively in Chinese. Information about how to find them on Instagram, Facebook, etc., and customer support. And they do a helpful thing where they tell you to pre-inspect the wiring, make sure it works, which is great. That's something I've seen with Lumibricks, and I appreciate that they do that. Full confession, I rarely actually do it, but I recommend you do it because if you get stuck midway, I mean, it causes a lot of friction. Okay, and then you get into the parts. It looks like what they're doing here are they're using blue outlines to let you know what the new parts are for that step. It's readable. The colors are pretty good. Let me see if I can turn on the light here, if that helps. Yeah, the colors are not bad for the print and for figuring out what you're looking at. I can see that they're trying to indicate gold too with these kind of shiny pieces there. So that's good. Information about the wire, how to run that wire, and how to get it. So here's that USB-C female adapter, and then the wire coming from it. I like that they have these top-down views too, so you get everything in the right place. I was disappointed to see how they treated the typography here. Um, I'm kind of a I hope this doesn't come off as snobby, but I don't like it when the text is not properly letter spaced and kerned correctly. When it's like monospaced like this, it's an artifact of also putting in the Chinese characters. And nothing against the Chinese characters, but it's just not a very clean graphic design. And if you look at other companies, they have taken the leap to go exclusively with English text, and when they do that, they can have better letter spacing, so it's a little more pleasing to read when you're reading it. They still have this manual do double duty. You know, they have it work for English as well as Chinese, and so one of the side effects is that the English has that monospacing the way that the Chinese also has monospacing. Um, and it just reminds me of some of the sets from like early days Mold King that are just filled with problems. And so when I see this, it just I guess it's saying, I guess it's triggering that I see this type of type, and I'm like, oh, that's it just reminds me of all the pain I went through on some of the older Mold King sets. All right, so take that with a grain of salt. It's just graphic design, so it probably doesn't affect anything else. But yeah, if if Pantasy wants to compete with the big boys, they may need to, you know, think about that typesetting as something that they improve as they get more sophisticated, because they're on their way. Everything I've heard, they're a great company and they're on their way. So here you see the core being built up. Here's that gear. And it looks like the wiring goes up and is hidden inside, which is great. Tells you how to clamp it in place. Look at that. Look how complicated that is. So it looks like it's on 3 sides. You're building it up and clamping it in place. Here we're starting to build that light bulb. And it looks like those lighted pieces, do they go in the light bulb? Not sure. Not sure yet. All right, and then we're building out the circular pieces. There's going to be a lot of repetitive building, I'm sure of that right now. Just look at all the different sides. I'm not a fan of repetitive building. Last time I did it probably was the Lego Ferris wheel, and that was rough. It was rough to do that many of the same builds. Luckily, it doesn't look like tons of pieces, but I appreciate this guidance here on how to get the pins lined up properly. Final steps. And you can see here just how ornate the design is turning out to be. Here's a look at that dragonfly with its wings. And it looks like it has a spot for it to go on to. I do think that I predict that the shade will be a little bit on the delicate side, but I think that's, I mean, it's not like you're going to play with this. So, yeah, but yeah, it is quite beautiful. And as far as turning it on or off, you just plug it in and then boom, the lights are on. I do wish they had put an on-off switch in there. That way you could leave it plugged in, because plugging it in is a lot of physical, like, I mean, anytime you're grabbing the lamp, you're pressing it in and stuff, that's an opportunity to break your model. So I'd appreciate being able to just kind of leave it plugged in, and then there being an on-off switch maybe. That would have been cool, but I'm sure you guys can figure out other ways to leave it plugged in and have the power turn on some other way. Okay, cool. And that is the entire instructions. Cool. So I hope you got to see everything you wanted to see in this unboxing, and like the video if you like it, and subscribe. You'll be the first to know when we built this model and we can appreciate it together. Okay, thanks so much.